The New York Times says
Yes.
African Union wants the world to scrub 450-year-old map. Supporters of the campaign says the popular Mercator projection promotes a false view of the continent and its size. That's the Mercator at the top, and the size they want is the equal Earth projection, whatever that
Right.
means. Africa is roughly 3 times the size of Europe, but you won't know it looking at the world's most popular map, the 16th century Mercator map. Last week, the African Union, a continental group of 55 countries, endorsed a campaign to have the organization around the world replace the Mercator map with alternatives such as 2018 Equal Projection Map, which supporters says accurately reflects the true size of Africa. So, question is, why? Why now?
You want to go or you want me to go?
Well, why now? We have we have a campaign going on right now, right? 2025 theme for the AU is justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations. So apparently, and with some other groups like Africa No Filter and Speak Up Africa, they've been pushing to popularize this equal earth in Africa, this new map, which I would say is well overdue, because for those who would argue there's no reason to revisit the map, the question is, why was it drawn in the way that it was in the first place?
Right.
Right? So we have this Gerardus Mercator, who was a German cartographer. And this map, this projection, the Mercator projection, was drawn up in 1569.
Thank you.
And at that time, it was as a navigation tool for European explorers. You know, the point was,
Plunderers.
yes, murderers. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for that correction on language. Yes, murderers. Absolutely. Rapists, pillagers, thieves. And the grid preserved angles which made plotting sea routes easier for ships leaving Europe on long voyages to go in and steal. So in other words, this map was designed to serve European maritime expansion at precisely the moment when Europe was entering the age of conquest, the age of colonization, the age of Ma'afa, which they like to call the transatlantic slave trade, but our genocide. And so there was politics behind the size of Europe and the shrinking of Africa and the global South as a whole. It definitely, the idea was to reinforce this Eurocentric worldview,
Correct.
making Europe seem larger than life and powerful, while Africa is peripheral, small, and so on and so forth. And that distortion absolutely feeds into, it fed into the colonial ideology, and it feeds into this notion of the West, Europe and the United States of America and Canada to some extent, being all powerful, being the center of the world and justifying their political and economic domination on us. So I think it's important that we do fight back, that we do ask for, you know what, let me rephrase. We shouldn't have to ask for anything. And that's another point I want to make.
Yeah, good draw.
As the article points out, the AU is backing this, but the AU on even its own website has not changed it. So instead of sitting around and waiting for someone else to co-sign, what if we, our countries, again, I know you're going to tell us we don't even control ourselves, but what if our own countries just said, this is the map? What if Tinubu in Nigeria, just same way he went back to the white woman's anthem for the country, says, hey, from now on, this is the map of the world that we use in all our textbooks and in all of our literature and everything that we do in this country. And what if all the other African countries just did the same, instead of sitting around arguing and asking for permission?
So this campaign looks like a campaign that is actually going to succeed just by the amount of coverage it's getting. And I think the World Bank said in some of the static version of the maps that they've now switched, and then the process of switching the other versions. So when you have these establishment organizations starting to do it, that will give some courage to the African Union as well to do the same thing. And also, by the way, this also shows you the type of fights that the African Union is willing to get involved in. You know, forget